Hi there, welcome to another edition of Cambridge Inside Out. I'm Robert Winters.
And I'm Judy Nathans.
And today's July 12th.
Yes, it's
2016.
really moving along. And
Yeah.
summer has returned. It's very warm out there.
Yeah, definitely. Summer is here, definitely. So one of the things we thought we would do today, well, actually we'll get to it in a second, I suppose, is do a little bit of a focus on Cambridge and its water system.
Right.
That's sort of the
Which is
plan.
very good. You should be drinking it.
Definitely. So we've got our special Cambridge water display here. So maybe we just touch upon a few things that are going on around town first, if that makes sense. In no particular order.
What's happening right now?
One thing that's happening this week is, actually yesterday was a hearing of the Cambridge City Council's Housing Committee.
Yeah, televised, but I wasn't home to watch it.
And that means it will be available online.
Oh, right,
so you can actually watch it after the fact. So one big item that's coming up that's probably, I would argue, one of the biggest items that I'll be discussing this year is a possible amendments to the city's inclusionary zoning ordinance.
To increase it.
Yeah, to increase it from 15%, which is really 11.5%,
to 20,
up to an actual 20%, or something like that. They haven't really settled on the details, and there are some things that still need to be discussed. But at this hearing yesterday, my understanding is that the Affordable Housing Trust was giving pretty much their blessing to the 20% figures without additional density bonuses, for those of you who know what that all means. And it's still to be discussed somewhat.
Was it a public hearing or was it more of a presentation?
It's a public hearing.
Did people comment? Or?
Yes, but again, I wasn't there, so I can't really say. I mean, at the stage they're at there right now is they're talking about it within the Housing Committee, and hopefully they will get some sort of logic from staff and from property owners and potential developers about what's actually feasible. And I'm sure there'll be some pushback from some property owners who will say, well, that's not feasible. If you do that, we're just going to build lab buildings and yada, yada, yada.
I mean, this was already, the report was presented a while ago, wasn't it?
There was this consultant's report with possible recommendations.
Oh, I see. So now they have to actually decide what they're going to change.
So the Housing Committee is charged, apparently, with vetting some of the possibilities first. And then once they've come to some sort of understanding, they'll then propose an ordinance change.
I see.
And then it's just like any other zoning petition, either it would come from the City Council, presumably, where we then go through to the Ordinance Committee and the Planning Board and all of that. Actually, the Planning Board tonight is having a discussion on the inclusionary zoning changes.
Tonight?
Nothing's before them for action, right? Because there's no zoning petition yet.
Right.
But they are having a discussion tonight, sometime after 7 o'clock. So anyway, that's one thing that's happening. Probably should mention that right now, I think starting coincident with our show at 5:30, right around the corner, is Taste of Cambridge. Is it over at University Park Common?
Last time it will be there, I guess.
So on Sydney Street. So
it does cost money.
Yeah, it's not free,
but the money goes to charity. I think Food for Free is one of the.
Yeah. So anyway, so if you want, head over.
Yeah.
There were a few other items that have been happening. I think it was last Thursday. Again, I don't want to get into too much of the minutiae, but one of the sort of hot topics lately at City Council had to do with some proposed changes for License Commission rules and regulations dealing with alcohol licenses, and whether they're going to continue, I think they're not going to be continuing the no value, non-transferable licenses, and they're going to change the cap. So that pretty much there will be no citywide cap. It'll all be up to the wisdom of the License Commission to whether to issue licenses. Anyway, I'm not the expert on this, but they apparently were having a discussion this past Thursday with a likely vote on it. I think that had been promised, but I have no idea what the outcome was.
The vote is only among themselves?
Yeah, they just have to approve their new rules and regulations. I see. And then that would.
So it's nothing to do with the City Council?
I don't think. I think the City Council sort of gave that authority to them some many years ago.
Well, it's a
So-
good thing. They can't decide everything.
Right. I know.
I mean, hopefully that
well,
they make good decisions.
I've sort of pointed out
Yeah.
in the past, if the city council had to decide on every license or every
my God.
sign or every this or every that, that's all they would be doing.
Yeah,
you
they
know.
already, I think, deal with a lot of things.
Yeah. Now, since we were talking about Taste of Cambridge, I have to say rather horrible news yesterday for those who like the Taste of Cambridge in the sense of restaurants and whatever. There were two institutions closed, or at least it was made known that they were closing on the same day. One was a relatively recent but somewhat beloved River Gods on.
Oh, yeah, it's not that recent. It's 15 years.
Well, compared to the other one, it's
Okay.
recent, right?
All right. Yeah, I just read that.
Yeah.
And I suspect if you know what's going on River Street, there's 3 $1 million condos that took the place of that antique store on the corner there.
I do know, though, that
and that definitely, when you're selling $1 million condos a block away.
But the owner didn't raise the rents, and it's the same owner, so it wasn't like they were forced out. I think
That sounded like they were forced out from the article I read in the Globe today.
Well, we'll see. But whatever. No, it's because I know somebody who knows the owner who said he didn't raise the rents or anything, but we'll see.
That's
Maybe
interesting.
it's bad information I got.
Yeah, because it sounded like they were being pushed out.
So that's what's happened with River Gods. But the other one that actually hit me a lot harder
Yeah.
was a place over on the Cambridge-Somerville line when you come over around where the Target store is. Coming over from Sullivan Square area in toward Cambridge, toward East Cambridge, is a place called La Hacienda.
Wow.
Which is right there, pretty close to the Twin City Plaza.
I've never been there.
And it's a bar pizza. And, it serves really great bar pizza. And I have to say, it was a place, one of the two places. I won't give you the name of the other, where if you went in there just at any old random time, you might find a few people who work for the city who that was like a favorite place to go.
Okay.
So
there's another old bar down there too, but I forget which it is. Well, that's too bad.
Yeah. So
and
anyway,
Four Burgers is gone.
Right, and there is another place is moving in there. I forget the name of the place.
Mainly Burgers.
Something
from
like
Maine.
that. Yeah.
That's what I heard.
So anyway, so these are some things that are happening around town, and let's see. Might as well right now just sort of say what's happening next week. We will most likely not be on the air next week.
Something will be here in our place.
Something will either
An old show or something that he's going to conjure up.
or I'll come on and sing. No, I actually won't, I won't even threaten to do that. Because next Tuesday, July 19th, there's a 3 o'clock Public Safety Committee and Housing Committee hearing, the one that deals with short-term rentals, Airbnb,
It's
etc.
at 3 o'clock, and then
Yeah, so that's a kind of a emerging topic of some significance that I think will be definitely a topic of greater discussion in the days to come. So this is the first hearing they're having on that subject. And then at 5:30, it's a pretty big one.
Yep.
It's a kind of a threefer. Three different city council committees are doing a joint hearing.
Public safe. Well, no, that
Transportation and public utilities, neighborhood long-term planning, et cetera, as
Yeah.
well as public safety.
Okay.
And this is as an outgrowth of, well, arguably it's an outgrowth of the tragedy where a cyclist was killed
Inman
in
Square,
around the vicinity of Inman Square. But also it's just a general discussion about infrastructure planning for the area. Because the city, almost simultaneous with that tragedy, had come out with several possible alternate
Just the day before.
reconfigurations just the day before.
And we had a very good show on that last week, which you can find on Robert's.
Yeah, we saw that link. You can look it up. But so anyway, that's something of great interest. I'm certainly going to go to that. And,
I am too. And
we'll see.
you also out there.
Yeah. And actually another, just next Tuesday is sort of a banner day for those who are interested, between 5 and 8, those who are more interested in what's happening around Kendall Square. They're going to have a community discussion, open house on infill development plans in the Kendall Square urban renewal area at the Marriott Hotel.
Infill.
It's where you basically put housing in all the little nooks and crannies and spaces that are there already. In other words, it's not like you you clear a whole plot, but there's actually space between.
Who puts them in there? A developer? One developer? Or
I'm not sure, but I would imagine this would still be the Boston Properties as the developer. I think. I'm not 100% sure.
It's going to be held at the hotel then.
Yeah, well, only because it's a convenient place there. So
Right, but-
anyway, so
Interesting.
so that's certainly the reason why I was kind of
Yeah.
not planning on being here.
Yeah.
Instead, doing
There's so
some
many
of those.
meetings. Yeah.
All right. So anyway, there are certainly other things we could talk about as well, but we thought maybe we'd sort of at least get on to a topic. We'll sort of bridge this right into the 6 o'clock slot of the show as well, which is about one of my personal
Yeah.
favorite topics of all, which is, as we mentioned,
Cambridge water.
Cambridge water. And
There's now, I mean, maybe this is a good time to, you can talk a little to show the video since we can be aware of the time.
well, we could actually we'll pop the video at the beginning of the next half hour.
Oh, okay, all right.
But I want you to sort of give a little bit of a background. You know,
Okay.
I think if somebody's watching this show, chances are you're a brilliant person, of course,
Yeah.
and you know a thing or two about the city of Cambridge and its infrastructure, whatever. You know, there's some people who do believe that Cambridge has uses the same water as the city of Boston and all the other towns around here, namely Quabbin water.
Right, and we don't.
But we have that capacity, but we only make use of that option when there are either emergencies or they were doing maintenance on a plant or whatever. But Cambridge maintains its own municipal water
Do you
supply.
want to show a map here?
Yeah, actually, let's show a little bit as we chat here about. Oh, actually, I think we have to make sure we get the right
Oh, there you go.
image. There we
Got
go.
it.
All right. So this is a little section of a map
Yeah.
here, sort of showing the Cambridge's watersheds.
So is this the route right here?
Actually, yeah, what you
Okay.
see there highlighted in blue
Okay.
is where the water is or runs, and highlighted in green are little feeder streams and watershed areas. So the way I always remember it, so here we go, kids, trying to learn here.
Oh.
It's two W's, two L's. The Cambridge watershed originates in Lincoln and Lexington to the north.
Okay, Lincoln, and then up here. So it originates around here.
Right, as well as Weston and Waltham.
Weston and Waltham.
So the way you remember it is two L's, two W's, right? But it doesn't
Right.
include Wayland, right? Which is
No.
also out there.
Well, it's not quite touching that,
Right.
yeah.
And there's a bit of a story about all of that, but just to give this sort of essential structure, the northern section is what we refer to, well, the water department people will often refer to that entire area west as upcountry. You know, just sort of because it's a nice thing to say, I guess. But there's basically two reservoirs. There's the Hobbsburg Basin, which is the northern one.
Up here?
Yeah. And that's the one people know if you see it on the west side of Route.
Yeah, when you're going on Route 2 out to,
128.
yes.
And yeah, and you also can look south if you're going
Route
out on
2,
Route
yeah.
2, looking south.
Trapelo, yeah.
So that's the Hobbs Basin. Now, though it looks smaller, it's actually
Down
contains
here?
significant waters here. Further down, further south,
Stony
that
Brook.
water travels down to the Stony Brook Reservoir, where it actually joins the Stony Brook and the Hobbsburg join. We'll show some pictures shortly on some of these. And the Stony Brook Reservoir is very close to where Brandeis University is. And the water then travels via aqueduct. It's a dual aqueduct for a small section, but then it's a single poured concrete aqueduct that conveys the water all the way to Fresh Pond. And Fresh Pond is
over here.
Yeah, that's sort of the final distribution reservoir. And
Where's Peyton Reservoir?
well, you barely even see it in this picture. Maybe
Yeah.
you even don't see it in this picture.
No,
but we
because
can,
that's over here somewhere,
we can
right?
show it in some
Yeah.
other pictures.
All right.
But basically, the overall architecture of the system is that the water from Fresh Pond is then treated and pumped uphill to what's effectively a water tank at a place called Payson Park, or Payson Park Reservoir, which is in the town of Belmont. And then from Belmont, the water is then fed by gravity. That's basically what pressurizes the system. And the water flows downhill by gravity back from Belmont into Cambridge, primarily to the place where it all splits at the Cambridge Common into all the individual mains. Though there are some capacities built in recently for branching out at least one other location. There also are some interconnects. We'll talk a little bit about this in a sec. where under emergency situations where we can take on water from the MWRA.
Which would be below this, right? Somewhere down here?
It's actually from there are major underground aqueducts that are conveying water kind of north-south.
Oh.
And one of them passes by the Porter Square T Station, which is where one of the interconnects is. Mm-hmm. The other one is that funny-looking brick structure right on the Cambridge Common, over on the kind of eastern flank by the crosswalk. If you didn't know what that brick structure is, that's where the interconnect is. And then there's a mysterious little one that's actually in an alley off of Norfolk Street, just behind Broadway. And that's the third.
Where does Somerville get their water?
I think Somerville is MWRA town, I'm pretty sure. Yeah.
Why we're so different.
Right. So anyway, so we'll just sort of, just to reassure you that we're still here. So that was just a little bit of an overview.
Yeah.
And I thought maybe what I would do is just say a little bit of history here, and then we'll just do a little bit of a picture show, just to sort of get the load down. So here's some facts that you may or may not know. Mm-hmm. So back in the 1600s, remember, town of Cambridge dates to like the 1630s. Cambridge used to get its water from the Menotomy River, Swamp Creek, Squaw Creek, and Satcham Brook, which is all sort of internally. I don't actually know where those were located. They probably still exist in culverts under some streets, though, right? In 1837, the first water company was established, was the Cambridgeport Aqueduct Company. Mm-hmm. And they conveyed water via wooden pipes from Spring Hill, Somerville, to serve the lower port, which is now called the port, right? Other parts of...
Where's the port again? I always get confused.
Well, we're calling it Area 4.
Ah.
All right?
Okay.
So that's how it was, and there was also people had private wells, but they didn't have a centralized water distribution system. In terms of fire protection, what that meant, since there were no reservoirs, is that if something went on fire, it just burned to the ground, basically, unless you could get a good bucket brigade or something like that. So
if they had no sewage system, I wonder if they had any trash pickup. It's different. I mean, they probably had the horse and buggy that went in the backyard, right?
I don't know.
Yeah.
I don't know. But anyway, that's how it was back then. And 1846, Cambridge was incorporated as a city. And I'm going to actually argue that that's when sort of the really interesting stuff begins. Because,
when it became a city.
Yeah, it's a little bit more professionalized and whatever. So in 1852, the Cambridge Waterworks was first chartered. By 1885, we had our first serious reservoir built on Reservoir Street in West Cambridge.
No wonder.
And the wall of that reservoir is still there, right? They were doing some residential construction recently there, but it was basically, that was there for some while. By 2 years later, the Stony Brook Reservoir, which we just showed in the watershed map, was established. That's the one out by Brandeis. In 1887. Fresh Pond at the time was still actually a great pond and accessible. They were still using it for ice harvesting, whatever.
So there was natural water there before?
For Fresh Pond? Oh yeah, it was always Fresh Pond. It was actually good, but it was not. City of Cambridge didn't really own the rights to it, but via the state, Fresh Pond gained the rights to it, absolute rights, and leveled any buildings that were there. By 1888. 4 years later, Hobbsburg Reservoir, which we showed was the more northerly reservoir basin, was added to the system. So this was like the golden age of Cambridge water, right? Connecting that here. So this is some of the historical. I actually wanted to go. Oh yeah, I'll just say one other thing for the 19th century. The Payson Park Reservoir, which we mentioned is sort of the what essentially our water tank, that was actually established in 1898. And when that was established, that's when they abandoned the Reservoir Street facility, because it was no longer needed. Okay. Because this was in a much higher elevation and was going to be much better.
Yeah.
We'll go to some pictures now here, but it says that there was no treatment until 1923 when we went to the treatment facility.
So which is our pictures?
Now you just all you got to do, got to make it real easy, is just click on this. And we'll go to the next one.
That's the first one.
So just so you know, this is up in the Hobbsburg Basin. This is the gatehouse for the Winter Street facility at Winter Street. It's basically just west of where the Costco and the Home Depot is, for those who know the area. And this is the intake structure where the water from the Hobbs Basin enters through this gatehouse and then comes out. If you just click on that, this is actually what it looks like inside. This was a tour I did some years ago in there. And then if you just click it one more time.
Oops.
Right?
Yeah.
And then it comes out the other side of Winter Street right here and becomes a stream with there's a gauging station there.
It's like some garbage too.
No, actually there's some pipes and things that are actually for use for water testing.
Oh, okay, good. I thought it looked like a bed rail.
Yeah. So let's go one more.
What's next?
Now, this is just a picture of the outlet stream. This is to some degree included here just to give you a sense of the fact it really does feel like a little country stream after this. There's a little bridge walking over there. If we click it one more time here, right? And as we head down toward a little pond from there, here's a little place with some wildlife is hanging out in here. In this, I have to say, it's one of my favorite places in the entire Cambridge water system.
Where is this exactly again?
It's in that intervening place where Hobbsbrook flows from the Hobbs Basin down to the Stony Brook Basin.
All right, so it's not Cambridge yet.
It's just north of Route 20. You can, and so anyway, it's a beautiful place.
Yeah.
So let's go one more. And that pond actually spills outwards. So this is Cambridge's water. Wow. This is a significant fraction of Cambridge's drinking water. Spills out. Oh, this is actually kind of a cheap photo in that it makes it look like it's a big grand waterfall, but it's actually only about 12 feet wide or something like that. Oh, really?
Yeah, you need a person to kind of show it.
Yeah, you can see it. So it's done sort of on purpose to make it look like that. So let's go another. And that's sort of what it looks like as the water comes babbling down. All of this, by the way, is really good for aerating the system and helping to clarify the water. So we'll go down a few more here. So that's the stream as it continues on down a little bit further. And on the picture. All right. This is, again, that's another picture of that same pond, that intervening pond. It's actually accessible through a place called Cat Rocks Park, which you can get from a little street called Drabbington Way, which just comes off just north of the Kendall Green commuter rail station. So let's click
oh, that's pretty.
And one of the things that's really nice about it is when you walk around that area, it's like you feel like you're walking in an Andrew Wyeth painting. I mean, it's about as beautiful a place as you can imagine. It's like butterfly meadows with beautiful ponds and streams. So anyway, let's continue down. Now this picture here, just another one, I think, of the edge of that pond. You'll actually notice in the foreground, not to annoy people, but you'll see some tires. Yeah, so this is, I put this one in here specifically to say that, this is sort of a never-ending process of sort of being watchful and maintaining that there's nothing dreadful happening in the watershed.
Because it's not barricaded. You can go close.
I mean, it doesn't do any harm to have a tire there, but the thing is that you certainly don't want to have rubbish being tossed in your drinking water supply.
Another photo?
So if you click on a little bit more, this is just another picture of that beautiful meadow that's out there.
Look how wide that is.
If anybody wants to come along, I'll be glad to take you there. And again, this is just a little picture. I mentioned Drabbington Way, which is just right to the left of where it says Hobbsbrook. Comes down to the basin. It sort of follows where the thing says Stony Brook. And comes on down to close to where that interchange is of Route 117 and Route 128, and continues down south of that into the Stony Brook Basin. Now, if you click this here, and we'll actually take a little break from this in a few minutes here. This image here may seem completely nondescript, except for my old VW bus.
Oh my gosh, look at that.
This picture was taken a good long while ago now, but what you're actually seeing there is the Hobbs Brook roaring down in the wintertime, coming from the top of the picture toward you. And this is exactly the spot where it merges with the Stony Brook. Right? There's a bridge. This is sort of standing on the bank of a bridge.
Is the bridge there or in front of
just to the left is the bridge, is where the Stony Brook flows under the bridge and merges right here.
Wow.
So this, not to frighten people, but this is actually just a few hundred yards from the Weston Town dump.
Wow.
Which is all capped, and it's just really more of a take or leave type of transfer facility, but that's what it is now. So let's go click one more and let's see if I got something else here. All right. So if you go down from the Stony Brook Basin, this is the gatehouse structure at the southern edge of the at River Road, I think it's called, on the road, which is over close to Brandeis University. And this is the gatehouse, the intake structure for the Cambridge water. What you're seeing to the left, it looks like a cascade of water. And I think actually if you click it one more time, you can see an even more dramatic picture of that.
Yeah.
This picture was, by the way, taken in 1991. So that's
My goodness.
me
In
25 years ago.
Wow.
Believe it or not.
Jeez.
Yeah, and that's the overflow from the reservoir.
Oh.
And all of that water is actually excess water which feeds the Charles River.
Wow.
We are ultimately part of the Charles River watershed.
Yeah.
All right, so let's click one more and see what we got here. This picture here is just a little shed right next to that facility. And I included it only to kind of show what the kind of terrible state of affairs is.
Did somebody
was at the
actually
time.
live, a caretaker, someone that was
Either that or they just use it for
employee?
storage for equipment.
Oh, okay.
Again, I put it in here really just to show you the state. That's now been replaced by a nice modern barn. It's much, much better. But at the time, this was a time when there was a need for a lot of investment for infrastructure for the city of Cambridge's water resources. So let's click another one here. We'll probably only have a minute before we have to take a break. But this is an image here, just again showing the gatehouse structure at the southern end of, I think this is in winter, but I think I went out there on a sort of cloudy day because I knew the water was just going to be rip-roaring. And you see the water just churning as it's going over the top of the reservoir and heading down to the Charles River. By the way, I learned yesterday that the reservoirs are now at about 60% capacity. So
We still need water.
we still need water. If you were to go up there today, you would not see this water here at all. It would be bone dry.
We're lucky we even get
So anyway,
What's this one?
We'll just do one more here of this, and then we'll
Same,
we'll
just
split.
a different color.
Yeah, this is just another image showing the gatehouse structure right there.
Okay.
So anyway, we're down to our last few seconds of this half hour, so we're going to come back, show a few more pictures, and maybe even a little video.
Yes, good idea.
So until then, this has been Cambridge
Inside Out.
5, 4, 3. Okay.
There we go.
Bye.